Howdy chaps, welcome back to yet another Swift related video. Yes, I'm sure there are some people that are going, but you want content, this is the best content I got, so got to run with it. So, I and my partner have decided to diversify this restoration business by starting a different business called G&C Salvage. We are going to be buying the odd car, fixing it and selling it, and we're going to be wrecking cars. So this car here is a 2010 Swift that's getting pulled apart. So I don't know how well this is going to go. I basically don't know how well it's going to go. So it's a bit of a gamble, and I'll run you through the car, I'll show you it off, and if you want some parts of it, let me know. So, you might be thinking, why are you wrecking such an immaculate condition car? Well, it's actually not immaculate. It was a fantastically cheap price through Pickles. So I have wrecked a lot of cars in my time, and I don't make lots of money when I sell a car complete, but I do actually go okay when I sell parts, because I'm actually fairly fair with my price. I don't actually rip anybody off, and I do have a much faster turnover of parts than I do of vehicles. And that's actually sort of how I've managed to keep myself afloat in between rust repairs, etc., etc. I do buy and sell parts to make money. But I decided this is the time. I want to eventually stop doing rust repairs, because it's a pretty bad, it's not I don't like doing it anymore, because I can't spend great lengths of time underneath cars anymore like I used to be able to. My back just isn't there anymore, and my neck is playing up a lot more these days. So I've got to diversify into something that I still enjoy doing, I know fairly well, and I think there could be a interesting future in. So we've started another business, G&C Salvage. It's a Facebook page. I've only just started the other day, and we've posted one car on it. So we've got this up, not for sale, for wrecking. So at the moment, all parts are available except for this headlight, which I'm here today to pull out because it's already sold. Surprise, surprise. So it's a 2010 Suzuki Swift with 283,000 kilometres on it. It is a mind-bogglingly large amount of Ks on it. But sometimes you do win with Pickles, sometimes you don't. But this car came with a full tank of juice, which I can assure you I've already removed out of the car down to a sliver, just enough to keep it running, which was awesome because, as you know, fuel's ungodly expensive. So full tank of juice with this car is not much, but it still ended up being $50 worth of fuel, which actually, no, it's probably more than that. But anyway, got a good tank of fuel out of it, got a brand new battery out of it, because the Blue Swift needed a battery. That battery was sort of borderline. The condition of the front of this car is excellent. But I can tell you why, because it's been pranked a few times. There's a paint run right there. But, for a car with nearly 300,000 Ks on it, it's actually aged incredibly well. But the reason it was written off, it is actually a repairable write-off, but I'm not going to fix it because the Ks are too high, the clutch is worn out, and the left CV joint is buggered. And I don't want to do a beaver panel on a car like this that I already know has had one on it before. This is not the first time this car's been smacked in its tush, because there's bog on the floor. And of course, being an ex-panel beater, I can tell from my time at the crash shop that all that seam sealer is not factory, and it's already been replaced once. So as anybody knows, doing a panel on a car that's already had it once is a nightmare, because it doesn't have spot welds to drill through. You've got to drill through plug welds, which suck. Also, another telltale sign is there's no spot welds down here. This spot weld's down here. So I can already tell. Also, I know the back of this thing's been painted because all these clips have got paint all over them. And so does the electrical plugs. Oh, and the hot glue was a bit of a giveaway. And very bad paint adhesion to the seam sealer. So, this little quarter panel's been smacked before. This door's been painted. the tailgate is red underneath it all, because that's where it was on a frame. You can find the other one up here somewhere. Where was it? It was... I saw it the other day. Here. That's where the other half of the hook was. So it was on like a jig. It sort of holds it so painters can paint. So it's not the original tailgate. It's not the first time it's been smacked in the bum. The front panels are like new. So, and the headlight is new, I can tell that. So the trick is pull the front bar off, pull the headlight out. And anytime somebody wants some parts, I'll just come down here and pull the bit. It's also got nearly new tyres on it too. So they're 4x100s and 15 inch. So that's kind of good. And despite nearly 300,000 Ks, look at that steering wheel, immaculate. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get my money back out of this car, plus some, to help sort of start the business. And you can also, another telltale sign it's been painted is the bonnet and the guard don't match each other. This is faded compared to that. So you can sort of tell that this guard's original, that door is, but that rear door's had a blend. The rear quarter's been painted. This front bar's been done. This headlight is not as new as this one. So it's obviously had a bingle here, here and here. This door's had a blend. Don't think this door's painted, or this quarter panel. So most of the way around this car it's been smacked a few times. Also, these Swifts are notorious for having this really sharp style line on the wheel arch, round, when they've been repaired. Yeah, nowhere near as sharp. It's not bad, but it's not as sharp. Pretty good clue as to somebody's been there. Yeah, nobody ever seems to get them sharp. Well, the panel beaters do tend to get them sharp, but the second a painter comes along with a buzzer, they just go and sounds it smooth again. Yeah, so I'm going to pull this thing apart in a second and sort of show you how it's done. Just before I turn it off, you can hear the engine running. Absolutely sweet as nut. It does have, I don't think it's 100% smooth, but I tell you what, it runs pretty well. The clutch is worn out though, sadly. But you can tell by looking at these brackets that there's paint chipped off them, so those brackets have been bent at some point on both sides. Pretty good clue that the front's had a bit of a but yes, I'll turn it off before it gasses me. But, and you're on the fly, it is a good car. Well, it's a shame it's actually getting wrecked, but those Ks are way too high. And I have done repairable write-offs in the past, but this one's just not worth doing. The resale value of these cars isn't actually amazingly high. You could probably buy a really nice Swift for like $5,000 if you went looking. And I know from past experience that you end up spending about $1,500 in fees just getting a repairable write-off through the inspections and back on the road. And you're like, oh, okay, so it's $1,500, a $5,000 car. You start to chew into your profit margin a little bit. Not to mention, you then have to repair the car, and one of the hardest things to do is, if you're not in a crash shop, is get the repair procedures, because every time you have to weld something, you actually need the procedures to show the inspectors that you've done it properly. So yeah, and then you start to buy parts, and it just starts getting, by the time you would have fixed this car, you could have probably just bought one that was on the road registered. So it isn't worth doing. So that's actually why I got this car cheap, because it's a repairable write-off and nobody else wanted to do it either. Now, I wonder if I can set this up. Also, for these Swifts, or actually any car, any modern car that you're going to work on, and you want to take the front bar off, turn the wheel 100% one way or the other way, because it makes getting the clips out down the side here 50 times easier. Now, one tool that I have that if you're working on a modern car I would strongly recommend getting, but I couldn't tell you where on earth I got it from. This is a pair of pliers designed solely for removing clips. So it basically grabs in the clip. I'll get a clip and show you. Yeah. So imagine that's your clip. Just grabs both sides, pops it open, and then you can yank it out with this pair of pliers. It's those, I'll show you, they've both got like a point on them, so it actually works really, really well. Just, whoop. These are a pain to get out if they're full of dirt, so wash your car before you're going to take it apart. It's also not a bad idea. So there's clips in the front, there's 4 bolts across the top, there's a screw on each side, there's clips down the side. It should be some bolts, should be a screw and 2 clips on either side, and then 3 bolts across the front bottom. So hopefully I can time lapse that. I haven't actually done that on this phone for a while, so if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, you'll just jump to the bar being off. So there we have it, one headlight removed, fairly straightforward, not too shabby. It's actually not bad condition at all. I don't even think it's very old, but I don't humbly think it's genuine. Doesn't really matter. Oh, by the way, speaking of EJ's off to being painted. Don't know when it's going to be done, but it's no longer here, as evident by the fact that the Swift is now occupying its space. So G and C salvage, G and C. Salvage is what we've started up. Go find the Facebook page. It's going to be very basic, but go give it a like if you like to follow along. This is the first car of many that we're going to wreck. My theory goes there's got to be money in it. People do it all the time. It's much harder to sell a whole car, but it's a lot easier to sell parts. But the trick is you've got to get the right car and get it cheap. And making sure the car doesn't have huge amounts of front panel damage, I think, is the key, because I think, in my experience, the front panels are the first to be sold off any wreck, nearly always, because everybody always gets distracted and plows into someone behind them or in front of them. And just had a phone call then. I may have to take these wheels off because somebody was interested in the wheels and tyres, because actually you can see they're lovely. Yes, lovely. And I'm hoping that somebody buys this bar, because this bar, although has a few scratches on it, if you smashed your car into the back of somebody, that'd be better than what you had. Also, if you know, for those who like Swifts, this is the early Swift front bar, as evident by round spotlights. This is the later Swift bar with a, well, sort of cat's eye type thing. It's got a point on it. So they did actually change quite a bit between the 2006 and the 2010. Also, this is probably getting into the nerd factor of how nerdy I am. These Swifts did actually change quite a bit in the boot floor. So they've, in this later style, they actually raised the boot floor up by putting in these plastic bits. So the early Swifts actually have a deeper floor, and these later Swifts have a false floor that's sort of, as you can see, sits about that height across there. So, you know, useless theory. They both have all have space savers. Not that you could do much with that. Although I think I have run a Swift on a space saver before. I didn't go very far, I can assure you. And I expect that radiator condenser to be another part that's going to sell very soon. I may need to get a aircon guy in to degas that, because it's actually very bad for the atmosphere and actually highly illegal to just let that go. So I need an aircon guy in to go degas that, and then we can remove that aircon condenser. Actually, there's really nothing in front of these, is there? And one thing down in there is a giant catalytic converter, which I can assure you I'll be taking to scrap metal, because I want to know what they're worth. Because when you go to places like Pick a Part or you pull it, you will notice there's not a single catalytic converter on any car in there, because they don't go into the yards. They get cut out before the cars go in, because they're worth heaps of money, because they've got super rare earth materials in them. I think they've got platinum and stuff like that in them. They've really got some weird stuff in them. which makes them highly sought after, which is why in America, a lot of people were getting recip saws and going to cars and car parks and literally cutting them out of cars in the car parks at shopping centres and taking them to scrap. So that was a big thing in America. I don't know if they've cracked down on it or that's still happening, but gee, they steal a lot of stuff over there. Anyway, GNC Salvage, go give it a like. You don't have to. Be cool if you did. Follow along, and if you see anything that you want or want to buy, sing it and let us know. Thanks for watching.